Ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you today with a message that might sound harsh, but it's the truth we need to hear. Stop being stooping. Now, I'm not talking about a lack of intelligence. I'm talking about those moments where we make decisions that don't serve us, that hurt us, and ultimately they cost us more than we ever realize. You see, the truth is, we all have those moments when we know better, but we do it anyway. We all have those times when we see the red flags, but we choose to ignore them. Why? Because we get caught up in the emotion of the moment, in the rush of a decision, in the fear of missing out, or the pressure of society's standards. Personal accountability is one of the most powerful forces for change in our lives. It starts with the simple yet profound truth that we are responsible for our own actions, decisions, and the outcomes they produce. When you take accountability, you stop blaming others, you stop making excuses, and you stop playing the victim. It means recognizing that the choices you make, whether big or small, shape your life. Your happiness, your success, and your peace of mind are all a direct result of the decisions you've made, and you alone hold the key to making those decisions. Too often we live in a world where pointing fingers is the norm. It's their fault, we say. If only this person had done that, we justify. But the truth is, when we fail to take personal accountability, we are handing over control of our lives to others. You cannot change what someone else does, but you can always change how you respond, how you act, and how you move forward. Taking accountability means standing in front of your mirror and admitting, I am here because of the decisions I've made. It's a hard pill to swallow, but it's also the most liberating thing you can do for yourself. Because when you take responsibility, you're saying, I have the power to change this. I have the power to do better. I am in control. It means not shying away from the tough choices, even when they are uncomfortable. It means learning from your mistakes and not repeating them. Personal accountability is the cornerstone of growth. It allows you to look at a failed relationship, a bad job decision, or a financial mistake and say, this didn't work out, but I can learn from it. I can do better next time. Wisdom over foolishness is the choice between living with intention or reacting without thought. Wisdom is not something you are born with. It's cultivated through experience, learning, and a deep understanding of yourself and the world around you. It comes from listening, observing, and taking the time to process situations before jumping into them. Wisdom requires patience, restraint, and a willingness to learn from both success and failure. Foolishness, on the other hand, often stems from impulse, emotions, and a lack of understanding. It's the quick decision made without thinking of the long-term consequences, the words spoken in anger that can never be taken back, the path taken because it feels good in the moment without considering where it leads. Foolishness often sounds easier because it's based on the desire for instant gratification. It's what we do when we're chasing the approval of others, when we don't trust ourselves enough to take the slow and steady road. But wisdom doesn't rush, it thinks ahead. Wisdom says, before I act, let me consider the outcome. Let me gather the information. Let me think about how my actions will impact not just me, but others. It's about weighing options carefully and making choices that align with your values, not with what feels good in the heat of the moment. There's a cost to foolishness, and sometimes that cost is high. It might cost you relationships, opportunities, or even your peace of mind. Wisdom doesn't just keep you from making mistakes, it helps you avoid unnecessary pain. When you choose wisdom, you choose to approach life with clarity. You allow yourself the space to think before acting, to reflect before speaking, and to choose your battles wisely. It's the path of maturity. It's the difference between living reactively and living purposefully. Breaking cycles of bad choices is one of the hardest but most necessary tasks in life. It's about recognizing that the patterns you've created, whether in relationships, finances, or habits, are not serving you. They may be comfortable, familiar, and even soothing in their predictability, but they are holding you back from becoming the person you are meant to be. Breaking these cycles takes a level of self-awareness that many avoid because it requires confronting the parts of ourselves we'd rather not face. These cycles often start when we fail to learn from our past. When we continue to make the same mistakes, we convince ourselves that things will somehow turn out differently this time. But the reality is that if we keep doing what we've always done, we will keep getting what we've always gotten. The first step to breaking the cycle is to admit that something is wrong, that the path you're on is leading nowhere productive, and that it's time to make a change. Once you recognize the pattern, breaking it becomes about making new choices, often in the face of fear, doubt, and discomfort. It's about pushing yourself to make decisions that might not feel good in the moment, but will lead to a better future. For example, if you've been in toxic relationships, it means learning to set boundaries, to say no, and to walk away even when you want to stay. If you've been financially irresponsible, it means creating a budget, sticking to it, and resisting the urge to splurge on temporary pleasures. Breaking the cycle also means dealing with the root causes of these bad choices, whether they are unresolved trauma, deep-seated insecurities, or simply a lack of knowledge. It's not enough to just change the behavior, you must change the mindset that fuels the behavior. If you don't address the underlying reasons for your poor choices, the cycle will eventually return, often stronger than before. This is where personal accountability comes into play. You have to be willing to do the hard work of self-reflection, to confront your past, and to take responsibility for the choices you've made, even if they weren't your best. Breaking a cycle also means learning to be patient with yourself. Change doesn't happen overnight, and there will be setbacks along the way. But each time you choose differently, you weaken the grip of the old habits. Every small victory becomes a step closer to breaking free from the destructive cycle that has been holding you back. The cost of stupidity is something many of us fail to fully recognize until it's too late. Stupidity isn't just about making a mistake, it's about choosing to ignore wisdom, to make decisions without thinking, and to act without regard for the consequences. The cost can be immediate, or it can accumulate over time, but it always comes with a price. Sometimes that price is financial, sometimes emotional, and often it's a loss of time or opportunities that can never be regained. In relationships, the cost of stupidity might show up as broken trust. You say things you don't mean, make decisions in the heat of the moment, or keep repeating toxic patterns. You hurt the people around you, and in doing so, you alienate those who care most about you. The damage may not always be visible on the surface, but trust, once broken, takes a long time to rebuild, if it ever truly does. Every time you act out of ignorance, selfishness, or impulse, you chip away at the foundation of the relationships that matter. The cost of stupidity can also be seen in the financial choices we make. How many of us have been impulsive with our money, spent on things we didn't need, or avoided responsibility when it came to budgeting? It's easy to live in the moment, to buy that new car, or to splurge on a vacation, but every decision has its price. Sometimes that price isn't just money, it's your security, your ability to provide for yourself and your family, or your peace of mind when you're struggling to make ends meet. The most painful cost of stupidity, however, is the toll it takes on your potential. Every time you choose the easier, less thoughtful path, you're turning away from growth. You're denying yourself the chance to learn, to become better, and to move closer to your goals. Stupidity doesn't just cost you material things, it costs you the future you could have had. Each time you make a foolish decision, you set yourself back. You miss out on opportunities, and sometimes you burn bridges that could have led to success, love, or happiness. And let's not forget the emotional cost, the anger, the shame, the regret, all of these weigh heavy on your soul when you act out of ignorance. The mental energy spent regretting your actions, the anxiety that comes with knowing you've messed up, the constant second guessing, it eats away at your peace. You find yourself trapped in cycles of self-doubt and frustration, wondering why you can't get ahead, even when you've been given every opportunity to do so. Stupidity strips you of your peace, leaving you with nothing but the burden of past mistakes. The cost of stupidity isn't always immediate, but it's always real. And sometimes the greatest cost is that we don't realize we're paying until it's too late. Recognizing the signs is about learning to pay attention to the cues life gives you, whether they come in the form of intuition, experiences, or the subtle whispers of wisdom trying to guide you. The signs are always there, it's just that many of us are too distracted, too busy, or too stubborn to see them. These signs come in many shapes and forms. Sometimes they're obvious, like a friend warning you about a toxic situation or a repeated pattern of failure. Other times they are quieter, more subtle, like a feeling in your gut that tells you something is off, or a thought that keeps popping up, urging you to take action. Ignoring the signs is easy. We want what we want, and we don't always want to deal with the uncomfortable truth that something isn't right. Maybe you've been in a relationship that you knew deep down wasn't healthy, but you ignored the red flags because you were afraid of being alone or afraid of change. Maybe you stayed in a job that drains you because it's comfortable, even though you know it's not where you're meant to be. But the problem with ignoring the signs is that they don't go away. In fact, they grow louder, more persistent, until you can't ignore them anymore. Sometimes the signs show up as patterns in your life. Maybe you've noticed that you repeatedly fall into the same kind of destructive behavior, like procrastinating on important tasks, allowing toxic people into your life, or avoiding necessary changes. These patterns are like a flashing neon sign that says something needs to change, but we often choose to ignore them because facing the truth can be uncomfortable. Change takes effort, and it requires a willingness to admit that we've been going in the wrong direction. The signs are there to guide you, to nudge you in the right direction, but you have to be willing to see them for what they are. The signs can also be your emotions, your body, or your energy. How many times have you felt drained, anxious, or out of balance, but brushed it off as just a phase or something you'll get over? That tiredness might be your body telling you it's time to rest. That constant anxiety might be your mind signaling that you're not aligned with your true self. Emotions like anger, frustration, or sadness are often trying to alert you that something in your life isn't right and needs to be addressed. Learning to listen to your emotional state and body is key to recognizing when something needs to change. At times, the signs come through other people. Friends, family, or even strangers can serve as mirrors, reflecting back to you the truths you may not want to face. When someone close to you tells you that you're making a mistake, or that they're worried about your well-being, it's easy to dismiss it as their opinion. But often, these external voices are pointing out what you already know deep down. They are offering you a perspective you might not be able to see from your own point of view. Recognizing the signs also means being willing to trust yourself. Too many times we second-guess our instincts or dismiss our gut feelings because we want to fit in. We don't want to rock the boat, or we don't want to rock the boat, or we don't want to admit we might be wrong. But your intuition is one of the strongest tools you have. If something feels wrong, it probably is. If something feels right, it probably is. The challenge is learning to trust those feelings and act on them before they are drowned out by fear, doubt, or rationalization. When you start paying attention to the signs, life becomes much clearer. You stop wandering in the dark, hoping things will magically improve. Instead, you begin to make decisions with more confidence, clarity, and intention. The signs are always there, guiding you, but you have to be willing to listen, to trust, and to act. Emotional maturity is one of the most important aspects of personal growth, yet it's often overlooked in a world that values instant gratification and quick fixes. Emotional maturity is not about being emotionally numb or pretending that feelings don't exist. Rather, it's about understanding, managing, and responding to emotions in a healthy, constructive way. It's the ability to stay calm and focused during difficult moments, to take responsibility for your emotional reactions, and to make choices based on wisdom, not impulse. One of the key elements of emotional maturity is emotional awareness. It means being able to identify and acknowledge your emotions rather than suppressing or denying them. Far too often we act out of anger, fear, or frustration, but we don't take the time to understand why we feel the way we do. Emotional maturity requires self-reflection, asking yourself, why am I reacting this way? It's not enough to just feel. You need to understand the root of your emotions. Only then can you begin to address them in a healthy way. Another crucial aspect of emotional maturity is emotional regulation. This doesn't mean controlling your emotions, but rather learning how to express them appropriately. It's the ability to pause and choose how you will respond, especially when emotions are running high. For example, when you feel anger rising, emotional maturity tells you to take a deep breath, step back, and respond in a way that doesn't cause harm or regret. Instead of lashing out at others, you can channel that emotion into something productive, whether it's through calm conversation, physical activity, or personal reflection. It's about choosing how to express yourself without letting the emotion control you. Emotional maturity also involves empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. It means recognizing that other people's emotions are valid, even if you don't agree with their perspective. Instead of reacting defensively or dismissively, you listen with the intent to understand, not to respond. You realize that everyone is fighting their own battles, and emotional maturity allows you to interact with kindness, patience, and compassion. When you cultivate empathy, you build stronger relationships and create a more supportive environment for yourself and those around you. Accountability is another pillar of emotional maturity. It requires taking responsibility for your actions, even when emotions cloud your judgment. Instead of blaming others or making excuses, you own up to your mistakes, apologize when necessary, and work toward making better choices moving forward. Emotional maturity is about realizing that your emotional responses are your own responsibility, and no one else can make you feel a certain way unless you allow them to. It's about not playing the victim or expecting others to constantly cater to your emotional needs. Instead, you take charge of your emotional well-being. Patience is also a hallmark of emotional maturity. Life is filled with frustrations, delays, and disappointments, and being emotionally mature means not letting those things derail your peace of mind. It's learning to sit with discomfort, to delay gratification, and to trust that things will unfold in their own time. Emotional maturity helps you realize that not everything needs an immediate reaction, and that sometimes the best thing you can do is to wait, observe, and allow things to unfold before making a decision. Lastly, emotional maturity is about resilience. It's about bouncing back from setbacks, failures, or hurt without letting them define who you are. Life is full of ups and downs, and emotional maturity allows you to navigate these challenges with grace. Instead of wallowing in self-pity or frustration, you learn from your experiences and grow stronger. Resilience means accepting that life will not always go as planned, but you have the strength and wisdom to keep moving forward, to continue growing, and to maintain your emotional balance no matter what life throws at you. Empowerment and growth are two of the most transformative forces in life. Empowerment is the realization that you have the ability to control your own destiny. It's the understanding that you hold the power to shape your future, make choices, and take action in alignment with your values and desires. Growth, on the other hand, is the continuous process of learning, evolving, and becoming the best version of yourself. Empowerment and growth go hand in hand. One cannot truly exist without the other. To be empowered means to reclaim your sense of agency. So many of us walk through life feeling disempowered, as if we are victims of our circumstances or the decisions of others. But true empowerment comes when we stop waiting for permission, stop blaming others for where we are, and begin to own our choices. It's the realization that you are the one responsible for your happiness, success, and even your setbacks. You stop looking outside yourself for validation or approval, and instead you trust in your own strength and ability to navigate life's challenges. Empowerment is also about setting boundaries. It means saying no when necessary and protecting your mental, emotional, and physical well-being. Often we give our power away by overextending ourselves, by constantly seeking approval, or by allowing others to dictate our worth. Empowerment involves having the courage to put yourself first when necessary, to stand firm in your convictions, and to demand respect not from arrogance but from self-respect. Growth, however, is the natural byproduct of empowerment. When you take ownership of your life and decisions, you open the door to change. Growth requires stepping outside of your comfort zone, challenging yourself, and embracing the discomfort that comes with progress. It's not about staying in the same place or doing what's easy. Growth means evolving beyond the limitations you once placed on yourself and recognizing that every failure, every setback is an opportunity to learn and improve. To grow, you must be willing to face your fears and doubts. Growth happens when you confront the parts of yourself that need to change, whether that's letting go of old habits, embracing new mindsets, or learning new skills. It's the willingness to keep going even when the path gets tough, knowing that each challenge is a step toward becoming stronger, wiser, and more capable. Growth is a journey, not a destination, and it's something that happens continuously as long as you remain open to it. Empowerment and growth also require self-awareness. You must have the ability to reflect on your life, to recognize where you've been, where you are, and where you want to go. This reflection allows you to make intentional decisions and choices that align with your higher purpose. Without self-awareness, growth is stunted and empowerment becomes hollow. The journey of growth is about constantly learning about yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, your values, and your desires, and using that knowledge to move forward. A key part of empowerment is also embracing failure as part of the process. When you are empowered, you don't fear failure because you understand that every mistake or setback is simply a lesson. Growth doesn't happen without trial and error. Empowerment allows you to view failure as feedback, not as defeat. It teaches you resilience, the ability to rise each time you fall, to keep learning and to keep trying. The more you fail and learn from it, the more empowered you become to take on even bigger challenges in the future. Lastly, empowerment and growth are deeply connected to having a vision for your life. Without a clear sense of direction or purpose, it's easy to feel lost or stuck. Empowerment comes when you understand your why you do what you do, why you want what you want, and why you're willing to put in the work. Growth flourishes when you have a vision that propels you forward, even in the face of adversity. With a strong sense of purpose, you are able to overcome obstacles, find the strength to keep moving, and create the life you want to live.